Hello everyone, this is Crypto BitLaw back with another blockchain law, policy, and regulation update. Today is Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022, and here are the major developments in this space. We could see that the SEC posturing threatens DeFi. Blockchain Caucus, according to the Blockchain Caucus, there is no pending mining legislation in the works in the Congress. Grayscale is to launch a new digital asset ETF. There's significant money laundering and wash trading happening in the NFT space within the NFT markets. And Colombia is about to combat crypto tax evasion with new policy updates. So, as always, if you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate that. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter is linked down in the description below. Our handle is @CryptoBitLaw. If you'd like to jump to any of these major topics, you could check out the timeline down below, and it'll bring you right to the particular topic you're interested in. And with that said, let's jump right into it. So first up on the docket, we could see that Cointelegraph reports that the SEC's proposed rule on exchanges could threaten DeFi. And this is according to an individual who is a commissioner with the SEC, Hester Pierce, who's colloquially known as Crypto Mom. They say the proposal includes very expansive language, which, together with the chair's apparent interest in regulating all things crypto, suggests that it could be used to regulate crypto platform, said Hester Pierce. Hester Pierce, a commissioner for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, known by many in the space as Crypto Mom, is warning that a proposed rule from the agency could potentially affect the regulation of firms involved with decentralized finance. According to a Tuesday Bloomberg report, Pierce said that the 654-page proposal recently released by the SEC to amend the definition of an exchange, as defined by the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, could impact the digital asset space. The SEC commissioner reportedly opposed opening the proposal to public comment and said the text could impose additional regulations on decentralized finance or DeFi firms. Quote, the proposal includes very expansive language, which, together with the chair's apparent interest in regulating all things crypto, suggests that it could be used to regulate crypto platforms, said Pierce. The proposal could reach more types of trading mechanisms, including potentially DeFi protocols. The text of the proposal does not include terms like digital asset, cryptocurrency, or decentralized finance, and seems to focus instead on systems that offer the use of non-firm trading interest and communication protocols to bring together buyers and sellers of securities, according to a January 26th statement from SEC Chair Gary Gensler. The rule change would, if implemented, promote resiliency and greater success in the Treasury market by expanding regulations to include Treasury market platforms. The SEC chair has previously referred to projects in the DeFi space as highly centralized in certain aspects, and thus subject to similar regulations as projects considered to be securities purportedly to what Pierce was referring to for Gensler's apparent interest in regulating all things crypto. And here we can see they highlight a tweet from Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, where he states that enforcement is one of the fundamental pillars in achieving the SEC's mission. One pillar is the policy framework, the laws set by the Congress, and the rules enacted by the Commission. But you've also got to examine against those laws and rules and enforce those rules. Okay? They say, if approved by the commissioners, the proposed rule change will be available for public comment for 30 days upon being listed in the Federal Register. The regulators would then likely vote on the measure, taking any submitted feedback into account. So, I mean, as we've seen before, this is just a continuation of the pattern for the government trying to expand the definition of what would fall under their jurisdiction. So right now they're trying to tackle the definition of what is an exchange and then trying to craft language of these proposed rules such that what are DeFi exchanges, what we know as DeFi exchanges, would fall under their jurisdiction and fall under their definition of what an exchange is to further encapsulate their jurisdiction to include DeFi so that they can actually regulate it. I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with this. This is the Crenshaw Memo on DeFi. She is also a commissioner for the SEC. And this memo, it's a very interesting take on DeFi and how regulation could come to the space of DeFi under the framework of the SEC. So this is going to be linked down in the description below. It's got some really interesting points in it. It's a really interesting approach to how the government views DeFi. You could see one of the notable points in the conclusion. Some DeFi projects fit neatly within our jurisdiction and others may struggle to comply with the rules as currently applied. It's not enough to just say it's too hard to regulate or say it's too hard to comply with regulations. So I think what they're really going after here are these projects that they launch under the guise of DeFi, but they're really centralized. There is one core team that's responsible for maintaining the project. They hold a majority of the tokens, and they have some sort of authority or agency over the project, whereas you have something that's just truly decentralized, that just exists in an immutable smart contract that no one really has admin keys to. So if we could draw those distinctions, the SEC would have a lot more of a difficult time regulating something that's truly decentralized. Zero counterparty risk, zero admin keys, the whole 9 yards. So interesting take. All of these links are going to be linked down in the description below, and we'll see how this plays. So next up on the docket, we could see that the block is reporting that there is no pending legislation on crypto mining, according to a blockchain caucus co-chair. The quick takes are that crypto miners are going to have to keep answering to lawmakers even in the absence of the statute. So lawmakers are going to continue to probe these miners for information regarding the industry in order to get a better feeling as to how to regulate this policy pertaining to mining. And there's new political pressure on the mining industry, and it's actually a part of the maturation of the industry as a whole, according to these lawmakers. In particular, this one Democrat congressman from Florida, I think his name's Darren Soto, he talked to the block and said that it could be months, but more likely years, before there are any statutory moves with regard to crypto mining legislation. He said that there's no pending legislation right now. Quote, there are other industries using far more energy that we've been looking at for years, according to Soto. We've been going down the list of energy users: transportation, manufacturing, utilities. Also, in an interview with the block, Representative Morgan Griffin, a Republican from Virginia, tried to illustrate the sense of agreement across the aisles in regards to the crypto mining issue. She said that energy use is, quote, something we should be concerned about, but do we shut down an industry because of that? Absolutely not. We have to figure out a way to do it better. So, I mean, this seems like a more common sense approach to crypto mining. It's a lot more, kind of analyze what's going on, take a look at the facts, and then do some sort of critical thinking with regards to what the facts are as it pertains to mining, rather than just kind of screaming to high heaven trying to rile up your base like someone like Elizabeth Warren would do. No real sort of critical thought or practicality involved. Just kind of shooting from the hip, hoping to rile up your woke base or whatever it is that she's up to. But they say for now, legislation at the federal level remains unlikely. As the block has reported, pending revisions to the Build Back Better Act could target crypto mining within its climate provisions, but it's procedurally limited in new rules that can put into place. As Soto notes, grants fit well because it's a budget bill, but regulation would, in all likelihood, have to come primarily in the form of incentives. So right now, they are seeking to pretty much use the carrot approach rather than the stick in regards to mining. For example, they cite right here, Bitcoin mining ends up funding the expansion of stranded wind turbine farms in West Texas that might score points for the industry in D.C. But if New York brings its energy and carbon goals into reach by banning mining, well, federal policymakers will notice. So it's this whole delicate balance between the carrot and the stick and how to best achieve the goals of the industry as a whole with respect to what they can get in terms of a quid pro quo in Washington. Next up, we can see that CoinDesk reports that Grayscale launches first equity ETF tracking new joint index with Bloomberg. The ETF will invest in companies in the digital asset space by tracking the performance of the Bloomberg Grayscale Future of Finance Index. They say New York-based Grayscale, which is owned by Digital Currency Group, the parent company of CoinDesk, has launched the first equity exchange-traded fund, or ETF, tracking the Bloomberg Grayscale Future of Finance Index, or the BGFOF Index. Grayscale, which has $38.2 billion in assets under management, said the fund will be administered by the U.S. Bank and Trade under the ticker GFOF. Foreside Fund Services, LLC, is the ETF's distributor. The BGFOF Index was launched in January in conjunction with the two firms and tracks the performance of 22 financial services companies in the digital economy. The list of companies includes Silvergate Capital, PayPal, Coinbase Global, Block Incorporated, Robinhood Markets, Argo Blockchain, and more. The index, which can include payments, exchange, and asset information, hardware, blockchain tech, and mining companies, is rebalanced every quarter. With the launch of its first equity ETF, Grayscale is now broadening its product range away from strictly cryptocurrency investing and giving investors exposure to mainstream markets. So, that's the big rub here. They're encompassing more parts of the digital asset space rather than just sheerly blockchain related companies like miners or something like Block Fury, where it's blockchain analytics or anything like that. We could see the list of the companies that they're holding, going into something like Square or Block, PayPal, Silvergate, Robinhood. It's a more diverse array that's still, touching the overall theme of digital assets, but it's a more diverse pool of these companies. And here is one of the buried leads in this situation right here at the bottom. It states, separately, Grayscale continues to wait for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to approve the conversion of its flagship Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a Bitcoin spot ETF. If approved, the ETF would be backed by actual units of cryptocurrency, not simply linked via derivatives contracts such as futures. And so that's what everybody's pretty much waiting on here. It's the approval of some spot Bitcoin ETF by the SEC. And the general squawk on the street is that once that actually happened, Bitcoin is set to go parabolic because there's already a squeeze in the amount of actual Bitcoin available on exchanges. It just continues to hit all-time lows. And so if you have a spot ETF or a torrent of spot ETFs that are released, they're all going to have to, reconcile their trades and their holdings in spot Bitcoin that they're going to have to purchase from the open market. And so that is going to put more pressure onto the supply of Bitcoin, which is ultimately going to reduce the overall supply. Demand's going to increase, and basic laws of economics, the price will go up. All right, next up, we can see that Cointelegraph reports that a New York gubernatorial candidate calls for a moratorium on proof-of-work mining. With roughly 9 months until major federal and state elections, New York State gubernatorial candidate Jumaine Williams is making crypto mining an issue in his campaign, criticizing the lack of regulatory clarity. Speaking to climate activists and protesters at Seneca Lake in upstate New York on Monday, Williams called on current Governor Kathy Hochul to deny permits for proof-of-work crypto mining firms seeking to operate in the state, citing potential environmental concerns as well as the, quote, harmful economic impact. The gubernatorial candidate cited China's crackdown on proof-of-work miners to back his claims. So, this guy seems like a total kook in line of, Elizabeth Warren and all these other yahoos that want to come out here and spread all this FUD on proof-of-work mining without any real sort of basis. This guy's argument is backed in part on Chinese policy, so we're really going to take advice from the Chinese Communist Party on how to implement policy in the United States. Yeah, seems legit. Let me know how that works out for you, buddy. This guy is a kook. It seems like he's doing nothing more than grandstanding to, the woke environmental progressive crowd without really knowing the facts of how Bitcoin mining is implemented, or just the statistics behind how energy is consumed, how it actually spurs development in green energy. It's just, at this point, it's a joke. He's just doing all of this political grandstanding in order to drum up some sort of buzz around his campaign. Man, I know that New York voters have done some pretty ignorant things in the past with the people that they put into power. Lord, if this guy even gets close to getting into office, oh man, God bless us in the future. But hey, any of you guys in New York, stay far away from this guy, Jumaine Williams. Uninformed, ignorant kook. That's all I could say. I'm not even going to dignify the rest of what he said by reading it to you guys. I'll just say that this is just it's part and parcel to a continuation of this FUD by kind of this woke progressive crowd that wants to base a nice chunk of their platform on hating on Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and proof-of-work mining without really knowing all the facts involved in it. It's upsetting to say the least, but as long as there's humans, there's going to be ignorant people out there, so what can I say? Next up, we can see that Decrypt reports that significant wash trading and money laundering in NFT markets, according to a Chainalysis report. Blockchain analytics firm Chainalysis has detected significant wash trading and money laundering throughout the NFT market. They say, Chainalysis, a blockchain analytics platform, has found significant evidence of wash trading and money laundering in the emerging NFT market. In basic terms, wash trading is a form of market manipulation where one investor simultaneously sells and buys the same asset to create a false and misleading activity in a marketplace. An NFT holder can, quote, sell his or her NFT to another wallet they also control, making the NFT appear more valuable than it otherwise would be. Chainalysis tracked wash trading by analyzing sales of NFTs to addresses that were, quote, self-financed. In other words, sales that were funded either by the selling address or the address that initially funded the selling address. This method yielded results that revealed hundreds of wash trades. One user, the most prolific wash trader Chainalysis identified, was found to have made 830 sales to addresses they have self-financed. Quote, "We identified 262 users who have sold an NFT to a self-financed address more than 25 times, according to Chainalysis. A total of 110 of these users have collectively made $8.9 million in profit from this activity." What's more, Chainalysis data only captures trades made in Ethereum and wrapped Ethereum, which is an ERC20 token that mirrors the price of Ethereum. They say there's likely wash trading activity that we're not considering, and I guess that's only natural considering all the different chains, especially you have something like Solana where NFTs are really starting to pick up steam. Chainalysis reports that the value sent to marketplaces by illicit addresses jumped significantly in Q3 of 2021 and grew again to almost 1.4 million in Q4 of 2021. Among this illicit value, Q4 of 2021 saw approximately $284,000 worth of cryptocurrency sent to NFT marketplaces from addresses with sanctions risk. These findings come amid the $8.6 billion worth of cryptocurrency-based money laundering Chainalysis tracked in 2021. Quote, "Money laundering, and in particular transfers from sanctioned cryptocurrency businesses, represents a large risk to building trust in NFTs and should be monitored more closely by marketplace regulators and law enforcement," Chainalysis said. So, I mean, this is just a continuation of, this explosion, this issue that we're seeing in this kind of Wild West environment where certain actors are going to leverage a lack of clarity on the rules to yield some sort of self-benefit, whether that be engaging in this wash trading where you're pretty much pumping your own bags by selling it back and forth to and from yourself, making the price seem higher than it is, or leveraging funds from these blacklisted entities, loading them onto these platforms, and then using these platforms to ultimately clean the funds under the guise of an NFT in a form of money laundering. And then, using something like Tornado Cash to mix the funds and then even further clean them up. So it's just an interesting pattern. I mean, when I first saw this explosion in NFTs, this was one of the first things that crossed my mind. What's to stop someone from buying and selling to and from a multitude of addresses that they control? It's, theory correct. Here it is, Chainalysis. There's nothing you can't hide on the blockchain. So, everything you do on the blockchain, it's public, and ultimately you're going to get found out at some point. And here we go, proof positive that this type of activity in regards to wash trading and money laundering is rampant in the NFT market. So, interesting development. We'll see how this plays out in the future. And finally, we could see that Cointelegraph reports that Colombia clamps down on crypto tax evasion as adoption thrives. Colombia's tax authority is tightening the screw on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency-related tax evasion against a backdrop of burgeoning cryptocurrency adoption. They say down in Bogota, cryptocurrency adoption is raging on. Colombia's tax authority, the DIAN, or Dirección de Impuestos y Aduanas Nacionales de Colombia, has begun to catch up. It seeks to take, quote, special measures to crack the whip on cryptocurrency tax avoiders. In effect, the DIN wishes to establish a framework that would establish a tax control for, quote, omitted or inaccurate taxpayers. This includes Colombian citizens who fail to record income obtained from crypto operations or those recording inaccurate cryptocurrency activities. It comes as little surprise as Colombia is an increasingly active country for Bitcoin and crypto adoption. Colombia is consistently the second most active Bitcoin trading country in Latin America. So, I mean, this comes as no surprise. These lawmakers in Colombia are, finally starting to wake up to the wave of adoption that we have in digital assets and Bitcoin across the world, and how it is almost necessary for them to implement these sorts of policies in order to get their cut. Because, it all comes back down to money in the end. They say it's follow the money, follow the money. And so now that they're starting to wake up to the impact of cryptos and how much money is being transferred and how much money is being left on the table, they're going to want to put systems in place to make sure that they get their cut. They're a few years behind the United States on this, but, surely they all come around. All roads lead to Rome, in a sense. So, interesting development. I think that this is going to have to be inevitable. They're going to have to establish some sort of system or framework with which to actually, receive and get these taxes that are owed to the government. But I think if they can actually get a handle on the digital asset, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin space, then it could lay a good framework for a further adoption of Bitcoin or some similar sort of digital asset as legal tender, a la what happened in El Salvador and the same thing that's now currently playing out in Tonga. So that pretty much wraps it up for the day. I hope you guys liked this content. If you did, please hit the like button. Please also subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate that. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CryptoBitLaw. And with that said, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.